Good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is the Swanee River Water Management District Governing Board meeting and public hearing. It is June 9th at 9 a.m., and at this time, we're going to call our meeting to order. If everyone would rise, we'll have our invocation and our pledge.
Father God, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for who you are and what you are. Father, I pray your blessing on each and every family represented here today. Father, I pray for your presence in this meeting, that your will be done, that you will guide our steps, govern our tongues. I pray that we will treat each other with kindness and respect in all that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Ms. Robin, would you like to do roll call?
Chair Johns,
Here?
Mr. Keith.
Here.
Mr. Schwab.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Sessions. Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Mr. Lloyd.
Here.
Mr. Wheeler.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Robin. At this time, do we have any announcements or changes to our agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
All right, is there a motion on the agenda?
I make the motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those like sign. Motion carried. Okay, our next item is public comment. I have two cards here. Moses, would you like to come up? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I listened to Mr. Keith's prayer, and I like that, and the civility that we all of us, I believe, would like to express with one another. I agree with that. I know some of y'all might not think so, but I do. But where I'm at, and I woke up this morning about 3:17 thinking about this, and I come in here the first time and I said, nice room, nice meeting room. Y'all got a nice place that the taxpayers provide, and I don't regret that. It should be, adequate and it seems, and it's not extravagant. And I notice, I've seen several of y'all in public, and y'all appear in different attire and all. And I understand and respect that. I see no issue with that. I don't think there's any hypocrisy going on with that or anything. But one of the things that woke me up this morning was is that y'all have a great amount of authority of the welfare of the citizens of this area in the Swanee Basin, and to come here in a nice facility, and I don't even know, I tried to find a budget, I didn't reach far enough because I know it's coming up today, but I think I read somewhere 200 million, somewhere around there, for this agency. And the money don't really even matter to me. What I'm focusing on and people I'm interacting with is what y'all do or don't do. And so I'd much rather have, and again, I preference what I'm fixing to say with what I already said, but I'm not so worried about how people express themselves. Some people, I'm not a public speaker. I'm becoming one because I'm concerned, and I've never taken a drama class and never took a speech class. I did manual labor all my life, or trade school. I did machinist work and carpentry all my life. That's what my profession is. So I didn't talk to many people, and usually 4-letter words is what I use. I'm glad to say I don't do that anymore much. And I'm getting off track, but I'd much rather, and I spoke with the attorney this morning too about infringements on First Amendment rights during these meetings. Can't do that. I get to say anything I want to say as long as it's not threatening or it's not fighting words. And I respect you, ma'am. I want to respect everybody in this room. But I do get uptight when you start trying to infringe, and I'm ready to go to battle on that one, you know, in legal battle. So please don't do that anymore. I want y'all to act in our best interest, and I've come to know some of y'all a little bit, and I'm believing mostly so. But then I hear in conversation where this Water First North Florida thing is a good option. It's not. Never going to be. Never going to be. Never going to be. Never going to be. It's not going to be. And not going to be. And it's not going to be. Because the best plan y'all have, that they have, not y'all are listening just like we are. The best plan they have is going to increase the toxins in our drinking water. Scratch that plan. Find another one. I heard most of what I share here is what I've heard from others, and I've dug into it. Guys, I met one of y'all this week at a gas station, and I expressed, get some farmer's kid, some local farmer's kid, 12 years old or so, that's working on the farm, ask him how to solve this problem. I almost guarantee you he'll solve the problem. It's the dam up them swamps that they dredged back in the 20s. All right, the cypress swamps and all, dam them back up. Let that nature take back over. And you're talking about filtering, creating these man-made reservoirs, wetlands, and putting that toxic water in. It only filters a little bit, It don't take out the stuff that can still kill our kids, or the former kids, whatever. So go back to nature. There's many other natural, going back to where it was naturally is the solution. Resisting any idea of taking any waste toxic water into our system, push for those that's wanting to send that water over here, even though it was supposedly invited here by Miss Amy there. We don't need that water. There's many other, I heard originally there was 100 ideas that was considered, and then most recently I heard 800 ideas. I've not seen but just 2 or 3. Just think, if the scientists are telling us out of 800 ideas that this Water First North Florida was the best idea, we need to change scientists. We finally got rid of Anthony Fauci, all right, because he is killing our people. And the head scientist with the idea that the Water First North Florida is the best idea would be killing or damaging our people too. So there's some changes need to be made. Ideas, I know what I'd do if I was in total control. I'd start with some new staff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Felicia Lamb,
Good morning.
good morning.
At your last meeting, I spoke to you about the ongoing runoff issues from the Trulieve facility in Jefferson County affecting our neighboring property, including continued flooding and erosion caused by discharge from the site. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Marshall, Mr. Thomas, Mr. Wheeler for attending the Jefferson County Commission meeting last month. I also appreciate the continued efforts of the district staff to address these issues. I want to make the board aware that it has now been more than a week since we've had any measurable rainfall, and we are still receiving a continuous discharge of water from the Trulieve property. The flow rate today is substantially the same as it was yesterday, the day before, and the day before that. I understand that Trulieve is in the process of performing site work to address the runoff issues, and I appreciate the efforts that are being made. Significant work has already been completed, and to this point, the problem has not been resolved. I respectfully ask the district's continued attention and oversight until the discharge and its impacts are fully corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the comment cards I have. If there are no other public comments, we'll close public comment and move on to the consent agenda. Everybody's had a chance to study up. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I may interject to
Yeah.
respond to some of the comments that were offered. We appreciate Ms. Lamb being here today, and certainly that their willingness to recognize the work that the district is doing relative to the project over in Jefferson County, and will continue. I think Leroy has a brief update on where we're at with that project today,
Okay.
or that permit on there, and, and we'll continue to apprise the board relative to that project. Regarding Mr. Klepper's comments on the water first, I did want to make a statement as far as, and I think I've talked to some of the board members about this, but relative to the Water First North Florida project itself, we recognize the benefit of that water resource with it, and with that, the research work that has been ongoing is continuing to be ongoing in the St. Johns District. And the intent of that water resource is that water will continue to be studied for the treatment relative to the water quality associated with it. And the intent with it is that recharge would occur over in the St. Johns District. There's not any work planned to be done in the Suwannee District. There hasn't been work planned relative to the next few years with that. But at this time, there's no work planned to be done in the Suwannee District, nor is there going forward. They're looking at, whenever they do begin to study recharge sites, those recharge sites would be over in the St. Johns District. But that type of work needs to be done from a statewide perspective relative to the value of that water resource and being able to use it beneficially. Our district, we continue to work to resolve the deficits for the Lower Santa Fe and Ichetucknee. We have some other regional, smaller, benefit-wise and price-wise, regional projects that staff are working to develop, and we'll be bringing those to board as we get those further developed with that. So we're still committed to resolving and working with our partners to resolve those needs relative to that. We'll be working with our permittees going forward as far as growth in our district and working with them on projects either specific to their needs or from a regional perspective with that. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that update. Is there any questions from the board?
I have no question. I think just a comment on my part. The Water First North Florida was always a conceptual project. It was never anything that was going to be put in force. The dynamic of it is 40 million gallons a day. That amount of water is not available just everywhere. So if the research plays its way out over a period of time, and it might be years before they're able to filter and cleanse the water to the standards that we would have to have in order for that water to come here, the work still needs to be done. It's just a resource that you can't quickly replace. And, where everything got colluded in my mind was that they used that project as an offset for our plant. The potential of having 40 million gallons a day relieves a lot of pressure on development, ag producers, and the like that we as a board need to be looking out after, right? Or at least I am. So that's where everything got a little sideways on us, I feel like. The public perception that we had approved a project that was going to be bringing water to this area, that was totally untrue, totally untrue. And as I sit here on this board today, I would never be in favor of anything coming over here that was going to be harmful to our environment. And I just want to go on the record saying that and still support the research. I think the research is necessary. St. John's Water Management may benefit from all the research in the end. It may never come here, but I think it needs to be done. Thank you.
I agree. Any other comment on this one? Then we will go on to our hydrologic report.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'd like to present the hydrologic conditions report for May 2026. My thanks this month goes out to Lorna Radcliffe. She sent me some great low water photos. She was doing a site visit over at Blue Sink canoe launch on the Swanee, just a little bit north of town here. And she snapped this photo. I do recall it looking a lot like this back in 2012, back right before Debbie came through. You can see where it's just dry, and it has been dry out there for quite some time. You've got grasses growing out there and everything in what used to be the river bottom. But the river is not disconnected at this point. It is still flowing. It's just on out here in the background. It's barely see it out here. But I thought it was a great picture. We're still dealing with this drought, this ongoing drought, and I think it's a great way for us to start our hydro report for May 2026, and I'd like to thank Lorna for sending over those photos too. All right, rainfall for May 2026, we had a district-wide average of just over 6 inches. That's actually about 73% higher, and I haven't said higher in a while, than that long-term average of 3.5 inches. With that, we did actually reduce our deficit slightly. We went from 20.2 inches at the end of April to just under 18 inches at the end of May. Reason being, we had, for May 2025, we had a rainfall amount of about 3.8 inches. We moved that window of time forward. We pick up that 6 inches that we got this May 2026, so it helped us to alleviate some of that deficit. Taking a look at the map, the 5 to 7 inch range in green does encompass the district-wide average for the month. We do see a lot of green on this map, so a lot of average and higher amounts that we got this past month for rainfall. The less than average amounts, we saw 3 to 5 inches in dark blue, and then we had less than 3 inches in the light blue color. So the really lowest category here, we saw some of that over in Taylor County and a couple spots over in Dixie County as well. On the flip side of that, the higher than average amounts, we had 7 to 9 inches in orange, and we had some areas that benefited from more than 9 inches of rainfall this past month. Those include portions in Madison County, Hamilton, Swanee, Columbia, even over into Baker, Bradford, Lafayette, Gilchrist, Alachua, and down into Levy. That red color does represent more than 9 inches of rainfall for this past month. This is our departure from normal precipitation. This is from May 9th through the 7th, so this past Sunday. A little bit of a mixed bag for our district. We are seeing some deficits and some surpluses. As we kind of look at the coastal area here, we've got anywhere from breaking even to about 1.5 inches of rainfall deficit. We do have some spots over in Taylor County, Lafayette County, and Dixie that are showing 1.5 to 3 inches of rainfall deficit in that orange color. As we start to move east in our district and even into the north, we are breaking even up to about 1.5 inches of rainfall surplus in the past 30 days. And we do see some darker green as we start to go east here, 1.5 to 3 inches of rainfall surplus. And there's a little spot in northern Columbia County into Baker County as well, showing 3 to 4.5 inches of rainfall surplus. I did want to point out on here also the lion's share of the rain's really been over in the Panhandle from these past couple systems that we've had. They're anywhere from 6 to 7.5 inches of rainfall surplus. So my hope is that eventually kind of makes its way over here to us, and we start benefiting from some of that increased rainfall. This is our comparison of district-wide monthly rainfall. This is actually figure 1 in the report, but I did want to kind of revisit this because I thought it was kind of important here to point out that May 2025 was the last time, so it's been exactly a year since we either hit or exceeded our average amount of rainfall, that long-term average. That long-term average, of course, is in that dashed line that we see here on the graphic. We did exceed it this time by getting just over 6 inches, but even during our wet season from June, July, August, and September, we didn't even come really that close to the long-term average there. So it's been exactly a year since we've hit that average or higher. So I'm hoping that's a sign of the times to come for us in the next few months. I thought this was important to revisit too. This is our monthly historic rainfall averages. This is from 1932 to 2025, of course broken down by month. But when we start the year, from January and February, we're still kind of a little bit low there, but we do kind of hit a little bit of a peak here in March. Typically, that's when we get a lot of our frontal systems that come through, and we do have some increased chances of flooding sometimes in March. Of course, we didn't get that this year, but in past, we have seen some flooding usually in March and into April sometimes. April and May kind of fall back down just a little bit lower. There's, of course, is the 3.5 inches I just mentioned earlier. And then we got we got June, July, August, and September. That's kind of our wetter months, or rainy months, if you will. That's, we got, 6.8 inches, 7.7 inches for these two, and then 5.5 inches roughly for September. And then toward the end of the year, we do kind of fall, fall down just a little bit more rainfall-wise, just under 3 inches here. And then this is our lowest output, usually is in the month of November. So I thought it was kind of interesting just to kind of see our cycles that we go through here as far as rainfall. So we are entering into our wetter season here with June. So I'll be back with next month with that 6.8 inches of rainfall average. Stream flow conditions for May 2026, we actually saw some improvements, quite a few improvements. Up in South Georgia, we actually saw about 4-category improvement here. Went from the Ocklawahnee, Little River, and Alapaha, they all went from the much below normal to the above normal, the 75th to 90th percentile. And that's due to the increase in rainfall up in that area. In our district, we saw about a 3-category improvement at a bunch of our gauges, going from much below normal to that normal range, that 25th to 75th percentile. Saw that on the Osceola, Withlacoochee at Panetta, Alapaha at Jennings, and even White Springs over on the Suwannee. A 2-category improvement we saw at a few places from the actually 1 category for the Finn-Holloway and the Steinhatchee, going from the below normal to the normal range. And the Econfina, it did pop up as well, going from much below normal to the below normal, the 10th to 25th percentile. I did want to point out over in the Santa Fe Basin, we had 3 gauges last month that actually had no flow. They were dry. They have actually resumed flowing as of the end of this month, as the 31st of May. And so the New River and Graham have both jumped up into the normal range, the 25th or 75th percentile. Worthington jumped up slightly and went to the much below normal, the less than 10th percentile. But the good news is we do have flow that did resume at those gauges at the end of May. Branford, Fort White, and Rock Bluff were the 3 gauges that we saw we didn't have any improvements on. They stuck within the much below normal range for the month of May. All right, so this is our Upper Florida and aquifer levels. This is the end of April. I wanted to show this to compare with May. So in April, what we were seeing was up to 41 wells that were in the red category, that below 10th percentile. Of those 41, we had 18 wells that were below the 5th percentile. So we had quite a few low numbers there in our district. We did still see a lot of the 10th to 25th percentile, that orange color throughout the district. And we did have a few wells, I think namely about 4 wells that were still within the normal range, that 25th to 75th percentile. Move forward 1 month to May 2026. Unfortunately, we did increase our number of wells below 10th percentile. We're up to 54 wells now, and of that, 22 are below the 5th percentile. The reason being, when we got this rain this past month, it was kind of skewed. The rainfall for the month, from the 1st to the 22nd, we got about 2.8 inches. And then from the 23rd to the 31st, so that the 8 to 9 day period, we got 3.2 inches. So when this data was pulled, there's a little bit of a lag time between what we see improvements in our aquifer than when it did rain. So I would expect that if we continue to get rain like we did at the end of May, that we could see some improvements in groundwater. I wanted to show this. This is our Upper Florida and aquifer levels for May 2025. This is where we were exactly a year ago. This is where it all started. Usually when we start to get a little bit drier, these wells over in our coastal counties are kind of the canaries in the coal mine. They kind of show us that, hey, we're starting to get a little bit drier here. And we did start seeing some 10th to 25th percentiles at some wells in Taylor, Dixie, and Levy counties as well. This is really important to see because as you continue to go forward, this is where it began, and it just kind of spiraled back into what we are seeing here right now. So I thought it was kind of interesting to take a nice look at the historical groundwater levels. All right, this is our district-wide Upper Florida and aquifer conditions. This is the percentiles that I report on each month. This is, of course, the percentile on the y-axis and the date on the x-axis. Currently, we are sitting at the 11th percentile. That was as of data from this past Saturday. You'll notice, too, that we had gone down just slightly under the 10th percentile. We were in the 9.6% is the lowest we got, but we did kind of turn around a little bit and go up above 10 just with that increase in rainfall at the end of May. That still is well below where we were in 2017, the last time we started seeing the dry conditions prior to Hurricane Irma. And that was 27.2 that we saw at the lowest on the June 4th, 2017. But we're still quite a bit above where we were in 2012 for May and then June of 2002, where we're at the 1% and 2% respectively. I wanted to show a couple of long-term wells and kind of show you where we are currently versus the historical records. The first is DOT Lake City. This is the continuous data in blue and then the manual measurements in the black dots. The long-term minimum that we have gotten on this well was right at 40 feet. That was set on the 25th of May in 2012. Currently, we're about 44 feet as of this week. And so that's still about 4 feet higher than we were back in the record-setting 2012 time period. Still quite a bit above where we were in the early 2000s and the late 90s when we had some dry times there. Just a tad bit below where we were in the 1950s when we saw some dry times there as well. Another well I wanted to show is USGS Newberry, not quite as long of a record, but still a very important long-term well that we take a look at for this report. Once again, the continuous data is in the blue and the black dots are the manual measurements that we have on this. This is from 2012, the 22nd of June. We set a record minimum of 33.6 feet. We're currently about 37 feet right now. So we're about 4 feet higher than we were at that point in time in 2012. And we're still well above where we were in the 2000s. Also, that was rivaling where we were in 2012 as far as a record low goes. We're a little bit, probably about a little bit below where we were in the 1950s when I started seeing some dry times there as well. All right, this is U.S. Drought Monitor. This was released last Thursday, June 4th. Did see some improvements on this map. Our western counties here, Jefferson, and those counties, Taylor and Madison counties, did show a one category improvement going from exceptional drought, which did cover the entire district last week. It did fall down into the extreme drought category. And then some of our eastern counties over here as well are in the extreme drought. But the central part of our district is still experiencing exceptional drought, excuse me, exceptional drought within the confines of the center part of our district. I did want to mention as far as the climate goes, we are facing an El Nino. That's going to actually kind of take effect here pretty soon. We've got about an 82% chance from May to July of that coming into fruition. And that's going to continue throughout the year and going to go into 2027. We've got about a 96% chance from December through February of that continuing. And this does look like it's going to be, if not the record El Nino, it could be one of the ones for like one of the highest ones on record. We could see a really strong signal from that, which for our area could mean a good thing. It could mean we could get some more rainfall and fewer hurricanes. So that would be beneficial, but we'll have to wait and see what that brings to us in the near future. With that said, though, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's seasonal outlook for June through August has us with equal chances of above, near, or below normal rainfall. And I think this has a lot to do with the uncertainties about when the El Nino is going to come in, and then also we're entering into our wetter time of year and then hurricane season as well. So it's kind of a little bit confusing, I think, but this is what NOAA is actually showing us right now as equal chances. But we do have above normal temperature probabilities for the next 3 months. We were seeing that about a 40 to 50% chance of leaning above for the temperature probabilities for the next 3 months. All right, and finally, hurricane season did begin on June 1st. This was released by National Hurricane Center on the 21st. They do have us, their predictions do have us at about a 55% chance of below normal activity for the Atlantic for 2026, about a 35% chance of near normal and 10% chance of above normal. Their predictions are 8 to 14 named storms, 3 to 6 hurricanes, and 1 to 3 major hurricanes. The average from 1991 to 2020 is 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. So you can kind of see those numbers are reflected at a little bit lower than that long-term average. And this is also very similar to what Colorado State University came out with in April. Their predictions were 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. So we got some really good agreement between Colorado State and also the National Hurricane Center. Looking at the tropical cyclone names, the first one to be named when it does form will be Arthur. And this list goes all the way through Willifred, which I hope we don't get that far. But that's what it looks like now. So this is from yesterday. If you look on the right here, the 7-day graphical tropical outlook. I looked at it this morning, still the same thing. I'm happy to say tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. So that's a good thing. I hope I can say that quite a few times to the board. All right, with that, the May 2026 summary, we had a rainfall amount of about just over 6 inches, about 73% higher than that long-term average of 3.5 inches. We did decrease our deficit this month. We went from 20.2 inches at the end of April down to just under 18 inches at the end of May, and that's due to picking up a little bit more rainfall this May than we had in May of 2025. District-wide upper Florida and aquifer levels fell slightly. We went from the 12th percentile at the end of April to the 11th, and that's due to a median level decrease across our monitored wells of about 0.4 of a foot. But I did want to point out, as of this past Saturday, we are holding steady at that 11th percentile, so that's definitely good for us. El Nino is favored, as I mentioned, to emerge soon with about an 82% chance from May to July. That's going to persist through the year. It's going to get stronger as the year goes on. And we're going to continue over into the new year at about a 96% chance from December through February of that continuing on. As I mentioned, the central part of the district is currently covered by exceptional drought, but we do have areas on the west side and east side of our district that are extreme drought, and that does mark a little bit of improvement from the week before. And finally, as I mentioned, the National Hurricane Center is predicting a below-average 2026 Atlantic hurricane season. That does fall in line with what Colorado State University had mentioned or had come out with back in April. Madam Chair, if there are any questions, I'll take those now.
So, Robbie, you can pretty much well bet on anything in this country that you want to. And those markets that tell you one way or the other. They're better than polls, as a matter of fact, in my opinion. So what's the betting market saying that the El Nino's coming? The Super El Nino's coming. Have you checked that?
Madam Chair, it is very high probability that will occur, yes. I don't know the exact percent, but I know it is.
Have you been looking at that?
I have, yeah.
Okay, I just want
I
to
have, yes,
make
sir.
sure.
Yes, sir.
Because a lot of times the weathermen will just kind of pull something out of the air, And your predecessor would do that a lot, in this room. And I just wanted to see if you were basing yours on something other than just what the weatherman's saying.
No, sir, I'm following it very closely. So.
Very good, excellent. And the same thing with the prediction for the hurricanes. Are the poly markets telling us that they're pretty much well spot on? Because, I really don't have a trust of somebody in Colorado telling me what a hurricane's going to do down here.
Madam Chair, I 100% hear you. If you don't trust them, trust the National Hurricane Center based out of Miami. So I think you'll be okay with their predictions. Their predictions do fall in line with Colorado State. So with that oncoming El Nino does typically inhibit hurricane formation over in the Atlantic and the Gulf. So that's why they're both kind of tied, saying, yeah, it's going to be below average for this year.
Great report. Appreciate you, Robbie. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Any other questions, Robbie? No? Thank you
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Do we have cooperating agencies here today we need to recognize?
Yes, we do. Actually, sitting in Pam's company, we actually have Aiden Amos and then also Nicholas Daigle. They work at DEP in budget development, and so they've been working with Pam. We're glad for them to be here today. And then actually on the same row with them, we have Chris Wynn from FWC visiting with us.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming today. Glad to see you. And we have a service recognition?
We do. We have a service recognition, and not listed on the agenda, we also have some employee introductions today as well.
Okay, great.
So Ms. Kelly Woolley will do the recognition.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and members of the governing board. My name is Kelly. I serve as the Human Resource Manager. It is my pleasure to recognize Brandy Sistrunk for 5 years of dedicated service to the Suwannee River Water Management District. Brandy currently serves as Data Analyst 2, bringing a strong background in environmental science and data analysis. She began her journey with the district as a hydrologic data collection specialist, big $5 words, where she gained hands-on experience supporting our water resource monitoring efforts. In 2022, she transitioned to data analyst role, and through her hard work and commitment, Brandy recently promoted to Data Analyst 2. Brandy's ability to connect field operations with data analysis has made her a valuable asset to the district. Congratulations, Brandy, and thank you for your service.
Robin to introduce one of the new BRS staff.
Okay.
Hello, I think you all know Stacy. She's been our receptionist now for 8 years, and she has now transitioned over into the Outreach and Operations Division with Caitlin and Troy and Vince. I think she's going to do a grand job, and we do welcome her to her new position, and we wish her great success.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That concludes all the recognitions, Madam
All
Chair, at this
right,
point.
thank you. Then, Tom, have you got anything new for us today? All right, any questions for Tom? Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, those in attendance. For Business and Community Services, we only have a few items on this morning's agenda, and those are items number 9 through 14. Item number 10 and item number 11 were approved by way of the consent agenda, so thank you for those approvals. We'll start this morning's presentations with a facilities update. That is item number 9. This will be given by Mr. Ben Glass, our Office of Administration Chief. And Ben, you want to come on up? I'd like to report that this may be Ben's last board presentation, at least for a while. And you know, with that being said, he's going to move on to transition to running his family's business next month. So, Madam Chair, if I could, I'd just like to publicly thank Ben for all of his help and support that he has given me for 9 years of dedicated service to the district, and Ben, more importantly, for your friendship. So, and then after Ben's presentation, we'll ask Mr. Leroy Marshall to step forward and give you some information, and I think you have an introduction too, right? So, all right, Ben.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just a quick update for you on facilities today. Wanted to let you know what was going on with this building. We have reached out to one of our engineers under continuing contract, and they're putting together a timeline and a proposal for them addressing the engineering portion of this building for the foundation stabilization. Once we get that proposal back, we'll look at it, and it would certainly come back to you if it rises to a dollar value that would require your approval, and then look at moving forward with getting them under a task work assignment to address that. Once we have the engineered design, the plan is to put that out to bid for construction.
Okay. Any
Happy to
questions
answer any questions.
for Ben on the foundation or facilities? That's going to be a fun project. Ben, I want to thank you very much for your service here, and we're going to miss you terribly. But good luck with your family and your new baby, and we wish you all the best in the world.
Thank you. It's been a privilege to serve here.
Thank you.
Board, want to start this morning by recognizing our new intern in resource management. Her name is Asia Chapman. She is a graduating college student from the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, currently pursuing her degree in information technology. After graduation, she intends to pursue a career in software engineering. She currently lives in Lake City, Florida, and enjoys cooking, working out, and traveling to see other parts of Florida and the country. Asia's focus over her employment here will be to accomplish tasks in support of the PERCH database, which is the projects database, and assisting permitting offices with converting files to E-reg. Mrs. Asia.
Welcome.
Also this morning, I wanted to give the board a couple of updates that I have for you. FEMA is always on my mind. FEMA, I think we have mentioned that the Upper and Lower Suwannee, we are planning on doing the flood risk review. We are planning on doing that in September. So you will start hearing as we are starting to do the outreach for that. The plan is to have the flood risk reviews with the counties and the cities in September, and then the counties will host the flood risk reviews for citizens either late September or October. So that is the plan right now. We also heard this week that the NOFO, which is the Notice of Funding Opportunity for our CTP program, should come out late this month or early next month. If you guys remember, the NOFO is the beginning of the process to apply for funding for our FEMA program, for our CTP program. We're expecting that announcement to be made in June or July. That will let us know the funding that we have and the types of projects that they will be asking us to do. Our understanding thus far is that all of the projects that we will be doing this year will be basically in support of things that we already have. We're probably not going to get anything for new studies, but that's we'll figure that out when that NOFO comes out. Next, I wanted to give the board an update on our actions with the TruLeave facility over in Jefferson County. TruLeave submitted their application on May 13th, I believe. District staff has been doing the review of that application. As mentioned, we went out to the Jefferson County board meeting on the 21st. We also did a site visit that day on the 21st out at TruLeave. We went and did the board meeting on the 21st. Since then, we've been reviewing the application. We received on 6/4, we received a letter from Representative Tant's office that Ms. Lamb had sent to them. There were 2 items in that letter that we wanted that we felt we could address immediately. One of them was about wetlands and the other one was about algae. So we had our environmental specialists contact their engineer, and our environmental specialists will go out and look at the wetland and see if there's any issues that need to be involved with that. The wetland issue was included on our RAI. RAI was sent this week. In addition to that, we got, like I say, we got that letter on 6/4. On 6/5, I went out to the site to look at the algae issue. Met with TruLeave facility individuals, and we talked through some things they could do to address that algae issue. They are supposed to be getting with their engineer and looking at some design improvements in order to address those algae issues that Ms. Tant brought up. Ms. Lamb brought up, I'm sorry. So that all happened on 6/5. As we're working through right now, we're working on the compliance agreement with TruLeave. The penalty, we've come up with a penalty. That penalty has been forwarded over to them, and typically we go through a negotiation process to get to the compliance agreement, get a signed compliance agreement. We're doing that as we speak. In addition to the Jefferson application, conversations with TruLeave warranted a modification to the Madison TruLeave application. That application has been received. We have started the review on that. We are preparing an RAI. We have found a couple of things that need to be questioned before that application goes out. So we are under review on that application as well. I think that's it on the True Leave. Are there any questions there?
Madam Chair. Leroy, how does the water come off the True Leaf property? Is that a natural contour? When it gets to the joining owner's property, is it ditched, or is it just, is it come off in does the contour dictate how the water comes off? Because we see the trickle, she mentioned a trickle coming out of there. Is that coming off that half-moon shaped pond on the side there, or is that where that comes from?
Madam Chair. At this point, so the way the contours of the True Leaf site is at the north end of their property, probably the northeastern end of their property. The property kind of sloped down on all ends towards that northeast end of the property. So prior to the True Leaf facility being there, it kind of sloped all down to that northeast end. True Leaf constructed a stormwater pond and what they're calling a sediment or irrigation pond. That's the half moon pond that you are mentioning. The work that is being proposed in the application that is in right now is to sever the settlement pond from the stormwater pond. If you remember our conversation last month, the operation water and the stormwater were going through the same system and then being separated into the sediment pond and the stormwater pond. What they're doing with this modification is separating those systems. So the operating water will have a separate conveyance system from the stormwater system. Once they separate those systems, then the operating water or the irrigation water will be irrigated out on the site and will not enter the stormwater pond. The stormwater pond is a dry detention pond. Dry detention ponds, for anyone that doesn't understand what a dry detention pond is those ponds don't hold water like the normal ponds that you see when you ride around most of the district. Most of the ponds that you normally see are what are called retention ponds, meaning the first inch or inch and a half or the water quality volume goes into the pond and stays in the pond, and that's where your pollutants are basically captured and percolated down. And so in a retention pond, that first water quality flush goes in the pond and pretty much stays in the pond while the overflow goes out. With a detention pond, the pond itself does not hold water. So as the water, or should not hold water for more than the allotted time, any water. So all water that comes into a dry detention pond goes through what's called a sand filter. And when it goes through that sand filter, it is then discharged off-site. It is discharged off-site at a pre-rate than the post-rate. So all of our designs are such that during a 100-year event, and there are 5 events, when we look at those 100-year events, the discharge rate after the construction is less than the discharge rate before the construction. Again, the difference is the retention pond doesn't hold any water. So once it comes in, it starts going through the sand filter and starts going out. What that typically does is any rain event, water starts flowing. And it starts flowing because the pond doesn't hold any water. As long as it is less than an inch and a half, the pond should flow water for about 72 hours and be done. If it is above 1.5 inches, 2, 3, 4, however many inches, the pond is going to discharge. It's going to discharge for days, weeks, up until the time that it dries, which could be up to 30 days.
Madam Chair, the The erosion they mentioned, is that just the volume of the water over the short period of time? Or how does that figure into the, and this is formerly a creek, right? Or is a creek that it's going into? Didn't they mention erosion?
Madam Chair. There was a intermittent type stream. It would go dry. When it wasn't raining, it would go dry. However, when it does rain, those waters would go down, the contours to that northeast corner and then flow offsite. So it was kind of like an intermittent creek type situation. So, any erosion that could be happening, the information we've received from the Lambs is that there's a constant flow coming out from the True Leaf property, and it is that constant flow that is causing the erosion. So our efforts have been to get that pond to stop continuously flowing, also to get it cleaned up. Tyler was able to bring up a picture of that, the bigger pond that you see, and then there's a little one in the northeast corner. So what was happening is the water was going through the sand filters and then going into that little green pond in the northeast corner and then going out. We've had them get rid of that smaller green pond is gone. It's all a rip-rap spillway back there now that then discharges off-site. And the water in the stormwater pond now is clear. It's no longer green with all that algae and stuff. All of that's been cleared out. And so our efforts have been to get the water quality taken care of, get the flow to only flow after storm events in the regulated time, and then not be flowing anymore.
Madam Chair, I'm a little confused now, Leroy. You said the little pond's gone. Where's the irrigation water?
It's a little hard to see, but I have a pointer. There's a half moon pond that's sitting right here. That is where the irrigation water is going. What was happening was the water was coming in and going into a smart box that was here, and the irrigation operational water was flowing over into this half moon pond, and the storm water was flowing into here, but they were coming through the same system. This application is to decouple those systems, and so the storm water will come in and the operational water will go straight to this pond that's over here on the side. And this pond is the pond that is going to irrigate all of that operational water across the site. The wetland that Ms. Lamb brought to our attention was this wetland here, and we'll be addressing that during this application as well.
Okay, and these ponds are designed to go dry, or this pond is. So what is the discharge that this Lamb says is continuing today?
This pond is designed to go dry, but it is from this pond that there is discharge today. When I went out there on the 5th, it was in fact discharging. Again, this pond is gone, so it's discharging across a rip-rap spillway and then coming out and then going down this way. And this is the Lamb's property here. When I went out on the 5th, we have a rain gauge out there. They had received about a little over 2 inches at the end of May, and then they received another 3/4 of an inch on June 1st or 2nd or something like that. So the pond wasn't completely dry. It was about 6 inches or so of water in the main pond, but it was discharging.
So it'll discharge, you said, an inch every 3 or 4 days?
After a I'm sorry, Madam Chair. After a 1.5 inch rainfall, the pond should discharge for 72 hours. And then after that, it should no longer discharge. If it is greater than a 1.5 inch rain, it will discharge longer. our modeling is only for the 100-year event. So at that point, we're looking at 9 or 10 inches of rainfall. This was 2, which was greater than the 1.5. So it should be discharging greater than 72 hours. It should not be discharging 30 days, right? Because it's not 9 or 10 inches of rain. So it should be, a week, 4 days, 4 or 5 days, something like that. And then
These discharges that are happening now should stop in the next day or so?
Madam Chair, it should stop. If it doesn't stop, then we need to go back out there and look at it.
Ms. Lamb, you let district know if it continues to flow? Thank you.
Any other questions? All righty. Thank you for that update. We appreciate, that was very helpful. All right, thank you. You need to stretch your legs. Good.
Whatever you need to do, I'm good.
All right. Unless somebody needs a break, I think we don't have a whole lot left, and we'll just go right on through till we get through with our board items. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. The Division of Outreach and Operations has 6 items for your consideration today. Items 15, 16, and 20 are for informational purposes. If you have any questions, feel free to get with me or any of the team. I'll be presenting item number 17, and items 18 and 19 were considered by our Lands Committee last month and approved by consent this month, which we appreciate. My only item for your consideration today is Governing Board Directive 26-0004, amendments to conservation easement guidelines. In July of 2020, the Governing Board approved Governing Board Directive 20-0005 regarding conservation easement amendments in accordance with Florida statutes and district rules. This revised directive recommends primarily administrative changes consisting of prioritizing the terms and conditions information in Section 4 and deleting repetitive text in Section 5, moving section definitions from Section 3 to Section 5 to better explain the amendment types, and organizing procedural information for improved staff understanding and application. One substantive change is included that removes the requirement for amendments to be considered by the Lands Committee and instead go directly to the Governing Board. This practice has been allowed by the Lands Committee Chair, Mr. Schwab, for the last 3 conservation easement amendments and has improved efficiency and customer service. Staff desire to codify this practice. Approval of Governing Board 26-0004 will supersede the previous directive and all former versions of the directive upon Governing Board approval and signature by the chair. A red line copy of all of these changes, along with a clean copy, are included in your board materials, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions on this item?
Make the motion that we approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes our items.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Water Resources Division had 2 items. Thank you for your approval of item 22 on the consent agenda. The only thing I had for you beyond that was the water shortage. We did not bring a recommendation this month. We were glad to see that we got that above average rainfall last month. It was very helpful. But the groundwater percentiles are still low, and so we're watching that closely. Based on the way that the current water shortage order is written, it would expire at the end of July 31st without any action. So we'll be continuing to monitor between now and then, and we'll likely bring a recommendation back in July, depending on how our wet season plays out, right? July 31st will be about halfway through that rainy season that we have coming up, and we should have a good picture of where we are as it relates to our aquifer levels by that point in time. So we'll plan to bring a recommendation back in July, or we can let it expire if we achieve the recharge that we need. Be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Brown? Let's just hope I've got my fingers crossed, my toes crossed, and my eyes crossed for more rain. So maybe it'll be a really good report and we can get on our road back to normal.
Yes, ma'am. That type of rain that we got was exactly what we needed, the kind of rain that can actually soak in. It's not as damaging, you're not getting the flashiness, but you're getting really that water able to soak in. That was very helpful.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Thomas.
Madam Chair, I've asked, Tyler is back from Tallahassee, so I have asked him to give an update. He has a presentation to kind of run through the legislative session with it.
Good deal.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Tyler Winburn. I'm the Legislative Affairs Coordinator here at the district, and if it pleases the chair, I'm going to give a presentation wrapping up what this session looked like. So to start off with the session dates, in preparation for the 2026 legislative session, committee week started back in October 2025, and they ran through December of 2025. So the 60-day session began January 13th, and it concluded March 13th of 2026. During that time, the state did not finalize the budget for the year, and so over the next couple months, the state met a few times, and on May 29th, the legislature signed a budget for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. Finally, last week, June 1st and June 2nd, the legislature was back in session for Special Session F, which dealt with property tax relief. So this year we saw 1,926 bills filed. That's a reduction in about 56 bills from last year. There are a little over 1,700 amendments made to those bills, and ultimately 237 bills were passed by both the House and Senate and were enrolled. That 237 bill number is 22 less than last year and 92 less than 2 years prior. The budget that was signed by the legislature was $114.5 billion. This is a reduction in about $600 million from last year's budget. The budget still has to go through the governor's office and go through the veto process, and that's true for all of the appropriations that we're going to talk about today. So throughout the session, the district tracks many bills. 5 bills that passed I want to highlight today. The first of those bills is claims against the government. This bill raises the maximum liability that government faces from $200,000 to $350,000 per person, and it raises the maximum liability from $300,000 to $500,000 per incident. It also revises the statute of limitations, so the time to bring a tort claim against a government entity would go from 3 years down to 18 months. This is the only bill on today's presentation that hasn't been signed by the governor yet. The next bill is House Bill 441, which dealt with conservation lands. This bill made some rule changes for how all agencies will disperse lands that they own. Specific to the district, it creates rules for noticing proposed changes or sales and exchanges of district-owned conservation lands. This requires a 30-day notice now prior to the governing board meeting. If the district's just selling land, it has to list those owned parcels for sale and exchange. If it's exchanging land, it must notify what lands are being exchanged for and what portions of those lands would remain in conservation in perpetuity. And lastly, the notice would require that we have a statement of why the lands are no longer needed for conservation. The district already completes the first 3 of these requirements, so the only thing that will change from our operating procedure will be that we'll have to include a statement of why there's no longer a need for conservation purposes if it's no longer being conserved. The third bill I want to highlight is the data centers bill. This was Senate Bill 484. This bill clarifies that local governments retain the authority in their comprehensive planning to deal with large-scale data centers. It also requires a governing board hearing for a large-scale data center permit application decision. If they come to apply for a water use permit, it would have to come before the board. That's already part of our statement of agency operation, so that won't make any changes for us. It also requires that public utilities would require a tariff structure to make sure that these large load consumers would cover their own costs. And lastly, it establishes new water permitting standards for large-scale centers that requires the use of reclaimed water when possible. The next bill is the Stormwater Treatment Bill, which is Senate Bill 848. This bill made adjustments to the large stormwater treatment bill that passed 2 years ago. It creates some clarifying language for us, and it defines some terms for enhancement credits and compensating stormwater treatment. This bill will require applicants seeking permits for regional stormwater management to prove that they have the ability to do that and the financial capability. And it directs some rulemaking to implement this bill by Florida Department of Environmental Protection by October 2026. The last bill that I want to highlight this morning is the Department of Environmental Protection bill. This is the DEP package bill. It covered a multitude of things, but three of the things that it did was it established new best management practices for solar construction facilities, and it included coastal resiliency projects as qualifying under the public-private partnership. And lastly, it authorized the rule ratification for the lower Santa Fe and Ish-Tuckney Rivers minimum flows and levels. Moving on from legislation that passed, the district received $6.5 million in total appropriations. Those appropriations came in the form of operations, ERP, land management, minimum flows and levels, and payment in lieu of taxes. This funding aligns with what we've received in years past. Statewide, there were several statewide water projects. 14 of those projects that received funding are in our district. Those 14 projects will receive $5.8 million. This money will go directly to the entities that are going to be implementing those projects, whether it be a water treatment facility, a municipality, or a county. Statewide appropriations of interest to the district, I have three here. The alternative water supply received $50 million. That's the same that it received last year. Springs Restoration received $50 million, which is the same as last year. And the Flooding and Sea Level Rise Resilience Program received $160 million, which is an increase of $10 million from last year. The session season concluded with Special Session F, which was the property tax relief session. House Bill F1F and Senate Bill 4F were enrolled. This overhauls the property tax laws. It caps annual assessment increases for businesses. It raises the homestead exemption for all non-school levies up to $250,000. For tax year 2027, that limit would be increased to $150,000, and for the 2028 tax roll, that limit would be increased to $250,000. It also restricts the uses of ad valorem that can be used by the counties and municipalities. Because this plan requires a constitutional amendment, it's going to have to go to the voters, and so in November, we'll see this on the ballot, and in order for it to pass and become law, it will have to receive 60% of the Florida voters. The last highlight of the session was Madam Chair's reappointment confirmation. She went through confirmation this year and had to make 2 committee stops and then be approved by the full Senate, and that was done successfully and unanimously, so congratulations to Madam Chair. So that is the conclusion of my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions on Tallahassee?
I have one, Madam
All
Chair.
right.
On the last part, when you're talking about the tax, restricts use of ad valorem revenues by counties and municipalities. Can you expound on that a little bit?
So it restricted their use into 6 or 7 different categories that all have to tie back to a core function of the county. So education, health, safety, those types of measures. It didn't go into too many details on what would not be allowed, but it created 6 broad categories on what they could spend money on.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Is there a blueprint or anything, a roadmap for these counties that are going to substantially reduce their revenues? Is the state going to find a way to supplement those tax reductions?
There were a lot of conversations about that. I don't think that there's a formal roadmap that's written out. So if the voters approve this measure, the legislator plans on addressing that in next session.
They're going to take it away and then try to find a way to replace it, right?
There is no roadmap specifically laid out right now.
Well, it's just, as we all know, small counties rely heavily on that, that ad valorem tax for function of county government. I'm not saying it's all done, probably as efficiently as it should, but that's the truth. And when it's taken away, I'm fearful that the small counties are going to suffer the most.
Yes, sir. And the legislature and the governor both had large conversations about that and that need.
Hope it just encourages more efficiency in government. That would be very helpful. Any other questions? All right, thank you for that update. That was very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board, and appreciate Tyler giving that update. We do have a 2026, 2027 tentative budget presentation to follow. Kristen will be presenting that information here in a workshop. And then we have an evaluation committee to follow that with it. Couple of other things. We are looking at trying to do an off-site board meeting over in Perry. Working with Mr. Schwab to try to coordinate that and set up a field tour over there following the board meeting. So we'll keep you informed. I don't know that we're going to be able to put that together by July, but maybe the August timeframe, when it's nice and warm. We can, yeah. But wouldn't want anybody to get cold for that. The other thing, I know some of you are familiar and have had the opportunity to work with Joel Love, who actually works for the UF IFAS Research Center. Joel worked with the Department of Agriculture for a number of years, and I had the good fortune of working with him on the Swanee River Partnership, and then also while he's been out at IFAS. But Joel is retiring, and the big shoes to fill. They had his retirement reception Friday evening. And anyway, he'll be retiring at the end of June. So if you see him out and about, you may want to congratulate him on that, moving to the next phase of his career with that. And Madam Chair, we continue to pray for rain. I appreciate your statements earlier with that. Extremely thankful for the rain that we have received. And as Amy mentioned, that it was at the right rate. That we've gotten it, and very hopeful for continued rain going forward to alleviate our drought conditions here. And with that, that's all I've got, Madam Chair, unless the board has questions.
Any questions for Hugh? All right, none. I think probably what we'll do is, Tim, how much time do you need in between? 15, 5 minutes? Okay, so, let's go ahead and ask for, if there's no other comments from the board, we'll go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carried. All right, so we're going to adjourn. All righty. We are going to go into our governing board workshop, and we have one item, fiscal year 2026, 2027 tentative budget presentation. All right, thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Purpose of today's workshop is to conduct an overview of the fiscal year 2026 to 2027 tentative budget, which is currently $70,411,214. This is consistent with the fiscal year 27 preliminary budget and represents a $13.2 million decrease from the current fiscal year 2026 adopted budget of $83,629,325. Before we jump into the budget, I'd like to take a moment to do a brief overview of the budget timeline and note some important upcoming dates. We will bring the tentative budget before you for approval at next month's board meeting. It will then be submitted to the legislature by August the 1st. The first public hearing will be held following the September board meeting, final public hearing on September the 21st, and the fiscal year 26-27 budget will commence on October 1st, 2026. The $70.41 million tentative budget consists of the following sources of funds. We will dive a little bit deeper into the revenue assumptions associated with these sources in greater detail in the coming slides. But overall, the federal revenue is $3.9 million, state revenue at $42.5 million, district revenue at $9.7 million, and fund balance utilization of $14.25 million. The $3.9 million in federal revenues consist of $3.67 million in funding from FEMA for flood risk mapping and disaster recovery, as well as an additional $230,000 in federal grants for groundwater monitoring. The state revenues of $42.5 million consist of $6.5 million in state appropriations, for which the district is appreciative of the legislature's continued support, and an additional $36 million in project funding, $25.9 million of which are current ongoing projects, and $10.2 million for new projects, many of which are related to the preparation of the Lower Santa Fe and Ichetucknee recovery efforts. The $9.7 million in district revenue consists of $7.31 million in ad valorem revenue. This figure is a placeholder that is equal to the current fiscal year 26 adopted budget. This amount will be adjusted prior to adoption of the tentative budget once property values are received from the various property appraisers through the truth and millage process. And the remaining $2.38 million consist of other district revenue sources such as timber, the sale of surplus property, permitting fees, and investment income. The $14.25 million in fund balance utilization consists of approximately $2 million in river cost share, $1 million in agricultural cost share, $3.3 million in land and conservation easement acquisitions, just under $1.5 million in regional projects, as well as $6.3 million in other areas, including general fund, land management, project metrics, and Department of Transportation, as well as the use of prior fiscal year operational transfers. The overall fiscal year 27 tentative budget, as we said, is consistent with the preliminary budget at $70.41 million. While there was no change overall from the preliminary budget, there were some shifts between expenditure types. This slide depicts a side-by-side visual comparison of these expenditures by type. And as you can see, the most significant change was from interagency in orange to contractual services in red of around $4.2 million. and this shift is mostly related to projects. This slide depicts a side-by-side visual comparison of the expenditures by program between the preliminary and tentative budgets. There were no significant changes in program expenditures from the preliminary budget. As we could see, the largest expenditure is in the Acquisition, Restoration, and Public Work Program in orange at just over 44.5 million, or 63% of the overall budget. And that again is related to projects. The next largest areas of expenditures are in the water resource planning and monitoring in the blue color, and the operation and maintenance of lands and works in gray at 11.9 and 8.9 million respectively. And with that, I will take any questions.
Any questions on the preliminary budget?
Could you go back a couple of slides to the, back, before the pies here we go. Maybe one, go back one more. Well, you said the revenue, I think it was maybe back one more, it's $20 million for the river, for the recovery efforts for the lower Santa Fe and Swanee projects?
Yes, we discussed that under the projects here, yes, sir.
Okay, so that was, okay, new projects 10.2. So does that mean that the budget, how does that stack up relative to where we were, say, last year? Is it an increase or is it about the same?
Yeah, it's a slight decrease
Decrease.
from where we are for the preliminary or the 26 current adopted.
26 current adopted.
It's about a $13.2 million decrease from the current adopted budget.
So my curiosity is, we have implemented the rule and it's been adopted, but our funding is being decreased for recovery efforts. Is that correct?
If we do receive additional unanticipated funding, we will bring a budget amendment before you to receive those funds at that time.
Well, it's just an observation. I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. I would like to see, additional funding for projects for recovery efforts, that we're now saddled with the responsibility of making sure it happens.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, if I could offer with that, Mr. Thompson, we have had some funding allocated for these upcoming projects that we talked about, and certainly we'll bring those projects to the board as we get them developed. But we've had some of that funding that we're looking at carrying forward previously. So if we need to address a larger amount, as Christian had offered, we could make a budget amendment. But getting this funding expended for upcoming projects is our priority for right now, which would be to address a lot of the regional projects that we're looking at.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have an observation.
Okay, yes, sir.
In the recent years, we see more and more need for outreach, and we don't increase budget. Those new projects, does that include us?
Does that include outreach?
Outreach, yeah. We need more outreach.
With outreach, the 287,000 that you see identified here in outreach is specifically for the outreach program. However, there are outreach efforts that are captured in all of the other
The new
program areas as
projects
well.
and stuff. We're seeing more and more need, but I never see any change in the pie schedule. It just always, just as a layman looking at it, it looks like an afterthought, when we talk about outreach, and it's not. It's extremely important. I just want to say it. So as long as we have funding in new projects, because I don't want to stifle that group that's doing a really, really good job. Does anybody look at the website and some of the posts, the outreach, and the one picture of Troy with some kids in this last one, it was amazing. Everybody was laughing and smiling. You're learning, you're absorbing when you're happy. And we need more of it. Public needs more of it. You need to know what we're doing.
I support that as well, Charlie.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. Any other comment or questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion on this, or it's just informational? Okay, all right, thank you. So I guess that concludes our workshop. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn our workshop?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. All right, let's see. Are we ready to go on into our next item? All right. Our next item then is the Swanee River Water Management District Executive Director Evaluation Committee meeting. And it is June 9th, and we are now at 10:39. So we'll call to order the committee, and can we get a roll call?
Chair Jones,
Here?
Mr. Schwab,
Here.
Mr. Keith.
Here.
Mr. Sessions, Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Madam Chair, there is a quorum for this committee.
Thank you. And our first item is for public comment. Is there anyone that would, I don't have any comment cards up here. Yes, sir?
I wanted to comment on the budget too, and I apologize. When I first,
State your name for me.
Moses Klepper.
Thank you.
When I first, before I made the first meeting, I looked at y'all budget. Somewhere I got the information right at 200 million. I'm glad to see it's at 70, and I want to commend whoever, all of y'all are part of it, getting it down, going the other way. So kudos to y'all for, that's pleasing. And I've spoken with Mr. Thomas. The issue I have is the way he got on the camera and said we needed this Water First North Florida. I'd have to go back and review the tape, but he was with his cohort, and I don't remember his name, immaterial, St. Johns River Water Management District. One of them was saying we got to do it, and the other one was saying if we don't do the Water First North Florida, no other options, that we're going to have to start restricting 30 to 40% of the farmers, the scare tactic and all that. Now, I appreciate him saying today that it's off the table here, but we all know that it's not 100% off the table. The money's still there. The Senate just removed their 20 million. Yes, sir.
We are in a evaluation
Right.
meeting for him. We've already talked about North Florida first. We heard what you had to say. We know you're against it. We get it.
Right.
Okay, we're doing something else right now.
And I'm
Do you have
commenting
something
on
else to
his
say about you?
performance. I'm talking about his performance, sir.
Well, please go ahead. I want to hear about his performance. I don't want to hear about North Florida, Florida First
Or
anymore.
you don't want to hear
I'm
about that.
I'm over it because it's done. It's shut down. It's not going to happen. So let's get on down the road. Let's go on about life.
I'll extend my request that I made to the Chair, to not interrupt me. I have a right to speak.
You have a right to speak.
Yes, sir.
Pertinent things, but I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have a right to filibuster these meetings.
I'm not
And that's what
filibustering.
you're doing.
You're using my time, sir.
I'll give you a minute back, but you're filibustering.
No, sir. I'm making my comment, and I have a way of discussing my concerns. And,
We understand that you're concerned about Florida first, but it's not going to happen
well,
in Swanee District. We told you that this morning.
and you must have a
Gonna keep-
trigger there, sir.
Are you going to
because-
keep beating the dead horse or what? It's dead. It's dead. So what more do you want with it?
I was expressing my concern about Mr. Thomas getting on camera and stating that we had to have this Water First North Florida, all right? That's an expression of his activity as the executive director. That was my concern. And he still thinks that it's something to be looked at. I hope that y'all realize that it shouldn't, because it is
It's going to be studied. It has to be studied.
hopefully.
And that's what the money's going to be doing right now. It's going to study solutions to the problem.
Yes, sir. And we all agree that the problem, not the problem with bringing the pipeline over here. but
Problem
the
with
problem
water
with
shortage in the Santa Fe River Basin.
Sir, that needs
Yes.
to be, we
It's
all,
gonna be
hopefully,
studied.
we all agree to that.
Correct.
It just, that was one thing that stood out with Mr. Thomas's performance. That's, and you, somehow I triggered you on that you're thinking, that was an example of his performance that I don't approve of, all right? Him making that statement publicly. Go back and view the video.
Thank you. Any other public comment? There being no other public comment, we're going to close public comment and go into general discussion. And I'm going to turn it over to the board to review and comment on the performance evaluations that were turned in. And after discussion, then we'll need a motion to accept the performance evaluations. So who would like to go first? All right.
Obviously, we support Hugh and his effort. I'd like to make this statement. I think it falls in line that, and I think I speak for most of the board. We volunteer our time to this board because we feel like we're making a difference. I would not give up my valuable time if I didn't have faith in the staff that we govern as a board. Will we make mistakes along the way? Certainly. But we've got to plan for the future, and I'm encouraged by the Hughes leadership and our staff, how energetic they are to look outside the box for innovative ways to save water, because we're growing. We can't stop the growth. I would just like to say personally, Hugh and the staff have my admiration and support, and I appreciate the effort, and I appreciate the fact that you enjoy doing it, that you put so much of yourself into it. That type of leadership spreads throughout the staff. I appreciate you.
Amen.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with what Charlie said. You know, my relationship with you has become, you know, I think stronger and stronger as he is he's not a bureaucratic head here. He is an individual who truly cares about his community and about this district. And he's very transparent with the board and with staff about what his vision is and his direction for the district. By being able to, you know, be transparent with the board, we don't have any, you know, we're not blindsided by anything that's before this community, and I admire that. You know, he doesn't keep us in the dark, and I don't feel like staff is either. I mean, we're not in the day-to-day communication with staff, but if we need to be, Hugh's allowed us that opportunity. There's not, some government entities and some, CEOs would prevent board from interacting with staff. Hugh has never asked me not to call on somebody if I felt like I needed to do so. I think he does a great job of delegating, Sometimes when I have a question about that, he said, I'll have somebody call you, and they will. I mean, he doesn't take it upon himself to be the knowledgeable person on every single issue. He leans on his department heads to get that information. And finally, we have a district-wide goal and vision that long-term goals that need to be achieved, and in my opinion, we're hitting most of those marks, and I think it's under Hugh's leadership that we're able to do that.
We shall go down the road.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I know I'm not on this committee. I'd be more than happy to, though. It's been a privilege working with you, Hugh, and you pass on a lot of the praise to the staff for good reason. We've got an excellent team here. We're brought up with excellent information to help us make the right decisions for all of our district and the issues that we face. And but that is a testament to your leadership, the staff that believes in you and that you've attracted, and that allows us to perform the duties for us to serve. So thank you.
Madam Chair, I've enjoyed working with Hugh. Keeps me well informed, and I think I did the public meeting in Jefferson County, and I was proud to be a part of the Water Management District. Leroy also did an excellent job of stating our responsibilities and DEP's responsibilities, and also it's a complicated issue with Department of Health also involved, and Florida Department of Agriculture too. So, like I said, I'm proud to be on the board, and I think we have excellent staff, and I think Hugh's done a great leadership job.
Well, I've been here almost as long as Chair Johns has been here, and I've seen a few executive directors come and go. And I've been around Hugh since he's been the executive director. I was on the committee that helped pick him. And I want to tell you, for the record, that Hugh, I think you've done an excellent job in where you have. I appreciate the fact that this isn't a stepping stone position for you to further your career. It is your, in my opinion, I think it's your dream job. I think it's what you were designed and called to do. And I think you do a very effective job of leading your staff. As a matter of fact, I look around the room here, and a lot of the people that are in this room is because you hired them. And I know that you're passionate and that you truly care, number one, about people, but also you're in a very, very close second. You care about the resource and what you are charged to do in your position. And I think you do a great job, although nobody's perfect, of articulating what's our district is about and who we are and the people and the staff. And you do a gracious job of delegating your authority. And you even are willing to pick up the yoke when it's necessary and plow forward even in difficult situations. And I'm honored to be a part of that and to see that operate, and appreciate your leadership. So my evaluation, you got all fives on my end, and the reason why you got all fives is that's the highest you can go. And And I'm just looking forward to the next few years because I realize that time is precious and it's fleeting. And we're all getting older. And I realize that that we're not all going to be in the same position forever. So the time being around your leadership and seeing what you've been able to do with the district while you're here has been very enjoyable from my end. And I appreciate who you are.
Well, I'm not on the committee either, Hugh, but everybody's spoken, so
You can have my position if you want.
I appreciate that. You've been trying to get me in that position. I'm gonna pass. Hugh, the greatest thing I can say from working here, I mean, I think we've had this conversation. I never heard a positive thing about Swanee River Water Management District before I got on the board, except from one person. And that was my wife, because the outreach team went into her classroom and gave a presentation. So I agree that we need a larger piece of that budget for outreach. But what you have done and what is known through people throughout the district is you've created a staff that is a solutions-oriented staff. Not a regulatory, not a permitting, this is about it is. It's like, it's for finding solutions. And I give you all the credit in the world. It's been a pleasure working with you, learning through you. My position on this board is, you know, I think you guys have heard me say it. It's not so much what I've given, it's what I've learned by being here, and I appreciate you and the rest of your team for that. So, thanks for all you've done. I think you've done an excellent job. You don't get it all right. Okay, you don't get it all right. Mr. Klepper obviously didn't like some of the things you say, but overall, I think you've done an excellent job for the position you have.
I'm going to have to say ditto on everybody's comments. I think that I've just got maybe a couple other things to add. And I want you to know I've seen you grow in this position. And you have also helped this board grow. Certainly, you have added so much to our team here, and I feel like we're all part of the team. Staff, board members, you know, our leadership, even Tom, you know, we have to throw him in there too. But I've seen you maintain courage, perseverance, and patience. With many things that have been put on your plate, you can maintain sound judgment even when you are facing adversity. And we appreciate that and proud to be supporting you in all the decisions that you have to make and things that end up on your plate. For the board, we don't have any surprises. You keep us well-informed, well-educated, and you follow the wishes of the board. You know, you talk to us, educate us, and get a good feel of what this board wishes to do, and do your best to make sure that that's what's carried out. Let's see. You're a very fair person. That you ensure the district's responses and actions are fairly administered and in accordance with the district's directives. You work really hard at solutions, and generally you come up with some really good ones. You're a very watchful leader as far as getting the most out of the taxpayers' money, and we appreciate that because I think everybody on this board likes to see that efficiency. And I disagree with you because I gave him 3 5+.
Oh, 5+.
Yes, I did. But thank you very much, Hugh. It is a pleasure to work with you, and we have certainly learned a lot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate all the comments that have been made. It's very humbling, and it's very much appreciated. Mr. Richard, I would agree with you. Not every day is a dream job, but I hope that I can look back on this in years to come and say, I made a difference. and for the betterment of the district, for all of our homes where we reside. Many of us are from this area. And so to be able to work with the great staff that I have, it's an honor for me. And I would not be able to do this job alone. And I would not be able to do the things that we have been able to do and that we plan to do for this district without the staff. And certainly not without the support of the board. I couldn't ask for a better board to work with. And I'm definitely appreciative for the mentorship that you all have provided to me. And I pray that y'all will continue to do that and the guidance with it. And to that end, thank you all for the ability to be here and this job that you entrusted me with a number of years ago. July will be 9 years ago. And it has gone by pretty quickly overall, as things tend to do as you get older with it. But, you know, I like to think that the district is a better place than it was. And it will be a better place in the future because of the work that we are doing together with that. So thank you all very much for the kind words and for the evaluation on that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I think we need a motion to accept the performance evaluations that are before the committee. Is
Make
there-
that motion, Madam Chair.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carried. At this time then, we want to go on to any announcements or other conversation, other than we need a bigger budget for the, education. Got that one down pat, Mr. Keith.
Yeah.
We're gonna work on that one.
I get that one out early.
Okay.
What a crowd clears.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, if there is no further announcements or conversation or comment, is there a motion to adjourn the?
Make that motion, Madam Chair.
We have a motion, second, all in favor say aye. Aye, those opposed like sign, motion carried. We all good over there? Good deal. All right, thank you.